Welcome to Lift Up, a short-form spin-off of the Behind the Wind podcast. Lift Up was created for quick, meaningful conversations, short episodes that explore timely ideas, practical lessons, and thought-provoking topics across leadership, growth, business, and life. Each episode is designed to offer something you can learn today and apply tomorrow. Think of it as a spark, concise insights, real perspective, and actionable takeaways delivered in just a few minutes.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for being here. My name is Randy Glantz. The distillation of everything that she just read is that I'm a capture guy through and through. And so my approach today is going to be going through capability statements, what works, what doesn't work. It's pretty detailed, pretty in the weeds. So I hope that's what you're planning to be here for. I'm going to talk a lot. I'm going to show slides, talk to the slides. If you have any questions during, we have time for the questions, but I've set it up to just go all the way through. And I'll be here this afternoon. We've got a booth. I'll be here the rest of the conference, so you feel free to talk with me. I love this stuff. I think it's important both for industry, it's important for government that we provide capability statements that really tell the story in a succinct way. We're dealing with government officials, government contracting officers, and mission folks who have a lot on their plates. As I've been hearing throughout the breakout sessions during the last few hours, that's becoming very clear. There is money available for work. There is money being pumped through the system, but the contracting officers have limited time. A capability statement is one piece of that. It's a way to get your message across, tell the story, get the attention of the contracting officers. I'm going to say something weird. I'm going to say I've read over the years, the many years I've been doing this, I've read, I don't know, dozens, hundreds, of capability statements. I'm going to tell you something right now that I'm finding again and again. Most do not help the company that wrote them. Most actually hurt because they're not getting your message across succinctly. And that contracting officer who's reading dozens of these has a limited attention span. And the information overload these days is such that you've got to get that person's attention and establish your credibility from the get-go. So over the next 40 minutes or so, I'm going to try to change how you think about this document. I know I've changed how I think about the document in getting ready for this talk. You can't think of it as a brochure. It's not marketing collateral. I think it is one of the single most capture tools that we have at our disposal. By capture, I mean one of the steps to position your company as someone who has something of interest for the mission you're addressing. I hope by the end of the session, you'll be able to look back and take a hard look at your own capability statements and really be able to assess them, both yourself and your colleagues and people whose opinions you respect, and say, no kidding, does this do the trick? All right, I'm going to dive right in. So, as I said, the single biggest mistake I've seen, and I've seen this really across industries, across supplier tiers, across services, across whatever your company, whatever service you provide, whatever tool you provide, whatever product you provide, is that companies treat their capability statements like a marketing product, as I said, but they're really not. They don't live on your website to inspire visitors. They don't sit in a trade show booth like a brochure to make your brand look sharp. They don't exist to tell the world who you are or who you think you are. They live before either the proposal or the SIBR or the germ of an idea that a mission has. Before that even gets out, they live in the hands of the contracting officer whose inbox, or the program officer whose inbox this lands in. And that person has 40, 50, 60 submissions to get through. You have to make sure yours stands out. It could live on the desk of the prime, if you're looking to team, of that prime's capture manager, who's building a team that's for a bid that's due in 3 weeks' time. Or it lives in the hands of a small business liaison officer who's deciding right now, today, whether to invite you to an industry day. These people are not your audience for a brochure. They're decision makers under time pressure. Your capability statement is one input into whether they say yes to engaging you on their next move or inviting you to their next industry day. So when you sit down to write this document, or more likely, as most people do, when you pull the ones that you've been using for years and years and years, stop, just stop, and stop asking, does this thing look good? And start asking yourself, does it help someone make a decision about my company in the next 30 seconds? That's what's important. And that shift from a marketing mindset to what I call a capture mindset, because that's what I live and breathe is capture, is what I'm talking about today. Okay, now I want to talk about how this document gets used, because understanding that is really essential to taking the steps to fix your own capability statement. As I've said, nobody is sitting down with a capability statement and reading it carefully. Nobody's highlighting passages. Nobody's taking notes. You're getting, I would estimate, 6 to 30 or 40 seconds on the first scan. That's it. And in those, less than a minute, the reader's asking themselves 3 questions. And it's what's the word? Subliminal, subconscious. They're very fast, and it happens at that gut level. The first thing they're asking is, do I get this? And what I mean is, can I tell in one glance what this company does and who they do it for? Second, is it relevant? Does it feel relevant? Meaning, does it map to something that I care about? Not that the company cares about that, but that I care about. Is it an opening on a team? Is it a NAICS code I'm looking for? Is it a mission area I'm working on? And third, do I trust it? Meaning, does this feel like a real, credible company that can execute? Or does it feel like someone who doesn't know what they're doing and I can't really trust them? So here's the shift that I'm trying to get you to, I want to get across that you should internalize. You're not being evaluated right now. You're being screened. Evaluations themselves happen later on when someone actively compares his or her options. Screening is more binary. Either you get through the first filter or you don't. And I think most capability statements fail that screening, not because the company that you're with or that you own can't do the work, but because the document itself doesn't communicate in 30 seconds or 40 seconds that you can do the work, that the company can do the work. So everything going forward, as I've said up until now, is going to center around what do we put on the page, how do we structure it, how do we tailor it, and it's about passing that first screen. So underneath those 3 screening questions, do I get it? Is it relevant? Do I trust it? Do I trust them? There's really one master question being asked, just one, and that's this. Can I trust this team to deliver? It is not, are they impressive? It's not, are they innovative? It's not, do they sound smart? Those things don't move the needle at this point. Man, I've seen gorgeous capability statements, beautiful typography, great photography, clever copywriting. And I've seen them lose to plain, ugly documents that answered that question better. Because the buyer is not looking to be inspired. The buyer is looking to reduce risk. They're asking themselves, if I put this company in my team, or if I award this multi-million-dollar contract to this company, is this going to make me look good or make me look bad? Will they execute in my environment, on my problem, without creating headaches later that I have to manage? And here's the thing, answering that question well doesn't require a bigger budget or a slicker designer. It requires focus, It requires proof. And it requires letting go of the first instinct we have to impress. And that's what I keep talking about. So here's the framework that I'm going to keep coming back to, and it's the crux of my presentation. I call it the trust equation. Trust equals relevance plus proof plus clarity. 3 variables. All 3 have to be present. If any one is missing, the whole thing collapses. Let me walk through them. First, relevance. Do you actually align to the mission? A capability statement that lists every service you've ever offered is not relevant to anyone. Relevance means your document reflects what this buyer, whether it's Air Force sustainment, NASA launch services, or whatever, cares about. Generic doesn't land the plane. Second, proof. Have you done this before? This is where specific past performance lives. Contract names, agency names, numbers, outcomes. It's not, quote unquote, we have extensive experience. Well, where, with whom, for how long, with what result? A buyer can't take that trust us on faith. They need evidence. Next, clarity. Can I see all of that in, 10, 15, 20 seconds? Because remember, we're in that 6 to 30 or 40 second window right now still. If your relevance and proof are buried in paragraph 3 on page 2, they might as well not exist. Clarity is not decoration, it's a capture requirement. Most companies have one of these 3, maybe 2. Almost nobody has all 3 working together and has that consistently across all of the times you're using the capability statement. You might have great experience, but if it's not clearly presented, the buyer will not see it. You might be perfectly clear, but if you don't show proof, you present risk. You might have proof, but if it's not relevant to the specific mission, you get ignored. So all 3 working together every time, that's the equation. Over the years I've been doing this, I see roughly the same 5 failures show up in probably the majority of the capability statements that I've reviewed. These are what I would call the diagnostic checks. If any of these apply to you, you're leaving work on the table or not getting the attention you deserve. So I'm going to go through each of these in detail over the next few slides, what the failure looks like, why it costs you, and then how you can fix it. And as I'm doing that, take a second, think about your own capability statement right now as I'm going through the next few slides, and be honest with yourself. Again, that's the hardest thing. We have a predisposed idea of what these should look like. I'm trying to make it more formulaic. All right, so my reasons. The first reason, the first sentence of most capability statements reads something like this on the left-hand side. Founded in 2018, ABC Solutions is a veteran-owned blah, 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 blah. I've read a version of that sentence 1,000 times, maybe more. And let me tell you what a contracting officer thinks when they read that, which remember they're doing 40 times a day, maybe 50, maybe more. They think, I still don't know what you do. How about the founding date? Well, it's really irrelevant to the decision. Socioeconomic designation? Well, it's important for set-aside. That's true. But they belong in a compliance strip, not in a lead. Committed to excellence. I think every single company I've ever met says this, but it's noise. And if you're not committed to excellence, what are you doing there? Okay, now look on the right side, the strong version. Mission assurance and avionics sustainment support for Air Force and Space Force programs. 12 active task orders across Hill and Kirkland. Okay, notice what's happened. In one sentence, the evaluator now knows what you do, it's mission assurance and avionics sustainment, who you do it for, Air Force and the Space Force, and where you're doing it, those 2 bases. that becomes relevant to your audience. And it also includes at what scale. You've got 12 active task orders. Okay, here's some information I can put my hands around. And if I'm that contracting officer, okay, I'm going to keep reading. You got me. If I'm a prime looking to fill a sustainment role on a bid, I'll keep reading. The fix is simple in theory, but hard in practice. The first sentence of your capability statement should describe your strongest capability and the customer type that you serve. Nothing else. The who you are story can come later, or cut it out entirely. Lead with what you do. Okay, reason 2. This one is a little subtle, but it's a game changer, I believe, when you fix it. Most companies will start with their functions on the left and call them core competencies, but they're not the same thing. Project management, for example, the first one, it's a function. Quality assurance, okay, it's a function. Systems engineering, same, a function. Customer service, okay, it's a function. Every company on earth can claim those, but they give the evaluator 0 information to work with. A competency tells the evaluator 3 things: what you do, at what standard, and for whom. So look at the right-hand side of the slide. The strong version, PMP certified program management for DoD logistics programs. 97% on-time milestone completion across 12 federal task orders. Okay, same function, but program management. But now I know the credential, PMP certified, the domain, DoD logistics, the standard, 97% on time, and the scale, 12 federal task orders. That's scoreable. An evaluator who's doing a best value analysis can actually put a number next to that. On the first version, they can't. And here's a practical tip. Walk through your core competencies right now, mentally, and for each one, ask yourself, could my competitor write the same sentence? If the answer is yes, it's a function, it's not a competency. All right, on to reason 3. Past performance, and this is a favorite of mine, without numbers is not past performance. It's a claim, a claim. Government evaluators are required to assess past performance on results, not activities. If your past performance entry says, we supported the Air Force with logistics services from 2020 to 2023, the evaluator has nothing to score. What does supported mean? At what scale? With what outcome? Every past performance needs at least 1 number. Not 5, not 10, 1 at a minimum. Here's what counts as a number. Percentage saved. Okay, 28% reduction in cycle time, 15% cost avoidance. Okay, timeline shortened. Delivered 4 weeks ahead of schedule, cut deployment time from 90 days to 45. A compliance or quality rate, 100% on-time procedural submissions, 0 Category 1 findings across 3 audit cycles, something like that. Sometimes the work you did genuinely resists those kinds of metrics. I understand. If it's classified work, phase 1, SIB, early phase R&D, things where the outcome is qualitative, not quantitative, in those cases, describe the scale instead. For example, number of users supported, geographic coverage, for example, operations across 3 combatant commands, contract duration and value. There's always a way. My point is this: give your evaluator something concrete to latch onto. Supported logistics operations gives them nothing. Managed $47 million in spare parts inventory across 4 Air Force bases over a 4-year period of performance, okay, that gives them something real. So later today, your homework is, and I want you to report to me tomorrow when I'm at our booth, go through your past performance. Every entry needs a number. If it doesn't have it, fix it. And fix it before you use that document again. Reason for number 4 is the easiest one to fix and most frequently broken. I'm going to go through this quickly because it's purely mechanical, as you can see. your capability statement has to have some kind of compliance strip, usually at the bottom of page 1, a sidebar, whatever. Got to have the UEI. If you still have a DUNS number on your document, you're telling the world that your document hasn't been updated since 2022. CAGE code, okay? Non-negotiable for defense work. NAICS code, primary NAICS plus any relevant secondaries. Match these to the agencies you're targeting, please. SAM.gov registration. If your registration lapsed, fix it before you send another statement out. I've seen that before. I've gotten calls from contracting officers. It looks like your registration lapsed. I'm sorry, we're throwing this out. The last thing you want to hear. Set aside status, whatever it is, SDVOSB, HubZone, etc. Whatever applies, this is where the information belongs, in this compliance strip, not in the lead paragraph of page 1 of your capability statement. And this is a pet peeve of mine, a point of contact, a real name, a real title, a real phone number, a real email. Please don't use info@company.com. A contracting officer who wants to talk to you wants to call somebody. And contracting officers are real people. They're busy. They may not have much time in the job. They may be rotating, but they want to talk to people. If they can't reach somebody on the phone, you're going to lose that opportunity. To me, this is table stakes. And a capability statement missing these basics, it could cost you a contract. Don't make that error. Okay, reason number 5. And I think this is one that separates companies that win from companies that don't. Most companies have 1 or 2 or maybe 3 capability statements kind of, in your stock. And they'll send it to the VA. They might send it to DARPA. They might send it to GSA. Maybe they'll send it to Hill, maybe to Kirkland, the same document every time. Then you're not doing capture, you're broadcasting. Different agencies have different missions, different acquisition priorities, and a different cultural vocabulary. Submitting the same statement to every target, in my mind, is the equivalent of sending the same resume to every employer, regardless of the job description. So look at the example on this screen. The same underlying capability, IT services and systems integration, translated 3 different ways. For a generic audience, IT services and systems integration, okay, it's fine, but it's forgettable. Here at Hill, Air Force Sustainment Center, mission system sustainment and modernization support. Now I'm speaking their language. Sustainment's a word that matters here. Modernization's a priority. This sounds like someone who knows this customer. For Space Force, ground segment integration for resilient space operations. Different vocabulary, different priorities. Resilience is the word of the moment right now for Space Force. Same underlying capability, but a dramatically different signal that you're sending to this customer. Here's my advice for a workflow that wins. Maintain a master capabilities statement with all of your content. Then before every submission, every single one, tailor the top third of that document for that specific customer. Core competencies language. It's good exercise. Past performance emphasis, sometimes differentiators. This takes about a half an hour to an hour for each submission, but it's one of the highest returns of investment you can spend your time on. But nobody does it, but everybody should. When you speak the language of the customer, it's at least a signal that we've been here before, we understand what you care about, and we're not just some other vendor on the street. We've covered the 5 reasons statements fail. Now I want to move on to talk about what a winning statement looks like. When you strip everything else away, there are 4 components that matter. Capabilities, what you do, written as a scorable competencies, not functions. We covered this a few slides ago. Differentiators, why are you better than the competition? Specific, measurable, defensible. If your competitor can say, the exact same thing, it's not a differentiator. Past performance, where you've proven it, contract names, customers, numbers, outcomes. And 4, customers, who trusts you? Logos, if you have them, agency names, prime relationships. This is what I would term social proof, and it works in government contracting the same way it works everywhere else in life. 4 components. Everything else that might creep into your capability statement, mission statements, company values, long founding narratives, awards, charity work, diversity statements, that aren't, none of that's driving a decision at this stage. Remember, this is the screening stage. It's about evidence, not storytelling. That will come, don't worry. It will come later in your conversations, in your meetings, in your proposals. But at this 30-second screening stage, the evaluators want evidence they can scan. Remember that short time they have to scan, make a decision. That's the whole architecture. Okay, we're good. Okay, I've been talking mostly about the contracting officer side up until now, the direct prime to government. But a lot of you in the room may be small businesses, I'm sure you are, hoping to get on a prime's teams. That's a different audience, that prime's capture manager, capture team, and a slightly different evaluation. When a prime contractor looks at your capability statement, and when I worked at General Dynamics Advanced Information Systems a few years ago, one of my roles over the years was as a small business liaison. So I was on the receiving end of many of these capability statements. And again, we're asking the question of the prime, of the potential subcontractor, where do you fit on my team? Primes are not looking at everybody. They're looking to fill specific gaps. They might need a partner to fill a socioeconomic goal. Maybe they need a partner to fill a technical gap. They need someone with experience, for example, in GPS modernization or in specific avionics platforms. If your capability statement doesn't make your fit obvious, in the first 15 seconds, that prime is going to move on because they're screening dozens of candidates for a handful of seats. 2, do you reduce risk, as I mentioned earlier? Or do I add it? This is huge. That prime is going to have to staff your piece, manage your performance, and absorb your problems if you fail. So they're asking themselves, is this partner going to make our life easier or harder? Which would you choose? And 3, are you credible with a customer? This one I think is often decisive. If you have existing relationships at Hill or with Space Force program offices, name them. Primes will fight over a partner the customer already trusts because customer familiarity dramatically reduces the political and the execution risk on a bid. If your capabilities doesn't answer those 3 questions, clearly you don't make the team. It's that simple. So next time you update your document, read it once with a contracting officer's set of eyes, and then read it again as a prime, as a capture manager for a prime looking to fill his or her team. They're 2 different audiences, and as I said earlier, your document has to work for both. So it can't be the same document. All right, I call this the gut check slide. Let me stop and ask something for you to think about. Think about your own capability statement right now, the one you sent out this morning before you came to the conference, or the one on your website right now. Would you hire your own company based on that capability statement? And be honest. If there was any hesitation from your side when you read that, any at all, that's your signal you need to change something. Because every prime, every contracting officer, every evaluator who sees that document is running the exact same test, just from the outside. And if you can't confidently say, yeah, I'd hire this company, then they definitely can't. The good news is this is fixable and fast. In the next slide, I'm going to give you a rapid improvement checklist, 4 moves you can make today, tomorrow, this week, that I believe will meaningfully change how your document performs. But the starting point is that gut check. Be brutal with your own document because the marketplace is certainly going to be brutal with you. Okay, so here's the homework. First, cut. Before you add anything, take a third out. Take out founding stories, take out mission statements, take out values, take out stock imagery. Anything that doesn't help the buyer decide, cut it. White space is okay. Density is your enemy. 2, add metrics. Go through every past performance entry. Everyone, make sure there's at least one number. If you can't find one, describe scale. No entry gets to stay on that statement without quantification. 3, align to one customer, not all of them. 1, pick your most important target. Maybe it's Hill, maybe it's a specific prime, maybe it's a program office. Rewrite the top third of your document specifically for them. Use their vocabulary. Lead with the capability they most care about. Then do that again for your next target. And in that way, you'll build a library of tailored versions over time. 4th, highlight 3 wins, not 10, 3. Pick the 3 most relevant past performance contracts for this customer you're targeting. Make them unmissable, bigger treatment, more detail, more prominent placement. The rest of your past performance can stay if you want, but it's secondary. 3 strong examples will beat 10 weak ones every time. Do those 4 things this week, not next week, not next quarter, not after the next reorg, right away. And it's important, do that gut check test again. Would you hire your own company based on this new document? If the answer is still maybe, keep going, keep refining. If the answer is yes, send it to friends, family, colleagues outside of your company. Don't trust only your own read. Okay, I'll leave you with this. If your capability statement doesn't reduce perceived risk, it will not win work. Let me say it again. If your capability statement doesn't perception of risk, it's not going to work. It's going to lose work. That's the whole game. Everything I've talked about up until now, leading with what you do, writing the real competencies, putting numbers in past performance, hitting the competencies, the compliance basics, tailoring every single one of those functions is in service of this one objective: reduce perceived risk. Help the buyer say yes with absolute confidence. Yes, they can do the job. Do that, and your document becomes a capture asset. It opens doors, it gets you on teams, it moves you into conversations. Then you can tell your founding story, not before. If you don't do these things, it's another PDF and a stack of 40. That's the end of my pitch. I think we're right at time, and I don't know if there's time for questions or not. We're 45 minutes.